Alright, so I have a last class project I need to do, and the assignment was to create a video teaching one of the chapters. After looking through all the chapters, I decided to use the chapter Attention, talking about how attentional skills are vital when it comes to, athletic success and everything else. And doing the video, I had a lot of ideas that I wanted to use, but I figured, I'm already doing motovlog, so why not get on and kind of make my motovlog have a little bit of topic, give it a little bit of content, so it's not, the dry randomness that is what I do. I figured he wanted something creative, and I guarantee he probably has never gotten a motovlog video. So I'm going to teach you guys about why attention is kind of vital when it comes to sports and athletics. First thing that I want to talk about is how attentional skills they're extremely necessary when it comes to your athletic success. Focus is very important. You see some of the big guys, like the big stars. They come through in clutch moments because their focus is perfect. They know how to drown everything out, and they know how to get through, the crowd noise and stuff. And MJ can drain that game-winning shot against the Utah Jazz. I'm not a big Utah Jazz fan, even though I do live in Utah. So, go Lakers. During any given time, athletes, they always have to be prepared for multiple stimuli coming into their, coming into focus, or coming into, their thought process. And it could be from anything. It could be from swimming to, basketball, football, even golf. I'll use a lot of golf in this video because I'm pretty big on golf. Yeah, at any given moment, there's a lot of stimuli coming in, and you're going to have to learn to focus on, the important stuff when it comes to succeeding. And attention has two dimensions. There's the broad and narrow, and the internal and external dimensions. So broad and internal could be things like, calling plays. The next one is narrow and internal. This one, it's internal as well, but you're thinking about specific things, like specific things to do. So you're reading the defense and you realize, oh, it's man, so okay, what play do I call? What do I got to do to get this, on the right track? Next one is broad and external, and that could be things, you're going to read the external environment. You're golfing, okay, there's trees over there, and there's a slight bit of wind, so I know I got to hit it this way. Another thing could be external and narrow. Here you're thinking about specific things on what to do, external and narrow. So you're going to want to focus in on, shooting that free throw or putting. You're going to focus on that. You're going to focus on that putt. So it'll be really difficult when you have everything else around you, the crowd behind the backboard, and you want to focus in on that narrow point, which is that free throw. You want to make that free throw. So it's really challenging to focus on, one thing, or focus on the important things when you have so much going on throughout the environment. So concentration comes into play with all this stuff, learning to concentrate, how to do certain things. Research does show that, attentional factors, they're very dire when it comes to your success in games and stuff. So the next thing I want to talk about is attentional capacity. Primetime athletes, their attentional capacity is, bigger, a lot greater. But when it comes to, when you're coaching, then that's the whole thing. That's what this class is for coaching. So when you're coaching, you want to be able to, you don't want to overload the athletes that you're coaching. There are a couple steps you can take to kind of prevent overload, and first comes with discovering what their attentional capacity is. So you want to be able to know what they can handle at once, and as soon as that happens, it'll be easier for you to coach them. A good example that I read from the book was about driving. And when you're driving, I remember when I first drove, I was a kid. My mom let me drive out in the desert, so it was alright then. But I just remember it being just so overwhelmed by everything. And then as soon as I was able to get my permit and stuff, driving became, I mean, when I first started, gosh, it was scary. You know, you're always concentrating on everything, overlooking everything. You didn't want to drive with the music on. I'm just kidding. Yeah, you always blasted the music. But you know, you were so focused on the road and what you were doing, and you didn't want to get distracted because, you know, accidents happen when you're so young. So that was a great analogy. But I mean, as you you know, you kept driving, you kept practicing, you realized that there were more, you know, there are other things you were focused on, like, you know, eventually you were able to start using, or start, you know, listening to music, you know, carry on conversations, because you practice, and so a lot of these things came in, like, you just automatically learned them. So, and that's called automacity. Eventually, a lot of athletes will start to develop their own, you know, their skill automacity. So that'll allow them to kind of, they'll start doing things on their own, and without even thinking. When you develop great skill automacity, you know, things become second nature to you, and you're able just to, you know, kind of find things and find plays and, you know, weave through the defense without any kind of thinking about it, no thought process really, because it just comes natural. When you're coaching, you want to assess what they already know. You want to assess their skill automacity, seeing how, you know, what comes to nature. And you can run pickup games, scrimmages and stuff. Take your guy to the golf course and do some things, you know, watch how they swing or whatever. After you develop that skill automacity, you want to start working in on some drills. When it comes to, you know, teaching this stuff, you want to start them off with some drills. And if they're younger athletes, you don't want to, you know, force them into some hard drills, you know, dribbling with two hands, one with basketball, one with the tennis ball. You want to work them out. So get big balls and start bouncing with both balls, and eventually, you know, they'll be able to get the two balls down, and then you can move on to harder things. So you definitely want to ensure that your athletes, they overlearn and they learn to automate these skills. You want them to be able to, you know, automate the fundamentals, just so, you know, when it comes down to crunch time, they can do the things they want to do. So after you teach your athletes about skill automacity, and you kind of develop that a little more with your athletes, one thing you want to definitely work on is selective attention. You want them to be able to focus their attention on, you know, the prime time things and things that are going on in the game. You want them to be able to, you know, act without thinking, really, in the moments that they need to be, so they can pinpoint, you know, what they need to be doing in crucial situations. One thing you can help them with is helping them focus on, you know, relevant cues, things that are going to teach them, you know, what to look out for. And ways you can do this, ways you can teach them this are, you know, through videos, through relevant keywords, and just having focal plans to get things done. So with the videos, you can, a lot of times film is, you know, it's used in every sport. You watch what you do. So back on that whole concentration tip, concentration and attention are kind of used synonymously, and they shouldn't be. Attention is giving you focus on something, or just kind of, you know, giving you whatever you want, and concentration is really just narrowing down on what it is that you need to be doing. Yeah, concentration isn't easy. There are definitely some roadblocks to concentration. One roadblock is excessive thinking, and I mean that's one thing I have a problem with, is excessive thinking. And other things that can, you know, affect you in sports is, you know, you have a bad call, you make like two mistakes, and you're thinking, oh man, coach is about to pull me out. So you're too focused on getting past those mistakes that you don't think about doing other things, like, you know, making the next pass great, making the next shot, you know, running the play correctly, getting a good screen, and you're just too worried about, you know, getting pulled out of the game. Another roadblock is kind of the lack of trust. As soon as you start making these mistakes, you have your lack of trust, and with that lack of trust, you're not going to trust your body and your skills and your abilities to get you through these problems. Yeah, the last roadblock that I have for you is fatigue. So when you're playing a sport, you're gonna get tired eventually. With fatigue, your mind you start losing your ability to gain focus, because concentration is so mind draining, and you start thinking about other things, about, you know, I'm tired, my arm hurts, I have a foot cramp, I need more water, I need a protein bar. I just want to go home and cuddle with my My Little Ponies. So when it comes down to it, there really is no, there's no shortcut, there's no foolproof plan to get you through, those roadblocks. But there are a couple tips to kind of help you out to get you through that. And one of the biggest tips is just practice. Just continuing to get your body in the right shape, continuing to develop your skills so they're perfect. And that way, when it comes down to it, you're just tired, but you're still able to, get things done. There are some things like quieting drills. You want to be able to bog down those thoughts and quiet them. Another quieting drill is just being able to shift your focus back to what it needs to be, or shift your focus on something else. That way you can shift back to the task at hand. You want to have those triggers, and those could be words, or it could be your free throw setup. It could be doing something, slapping your hands 3 times. It could be just like rubbing your hands together, slap, slap. LeBron James does his little powder thing. Even at times, your free throw setup. My free throw setup is I dribble it 3 times, I spin the ball, and I come down with it, and then I go up for my shot. And that allows me to kind of trigger back and focus. One thing that it does happen is just being too focused. As I'm developing my skill automaticity with golf, it's becoming second nature to just kind of keep my head down. But that used to be a hard thing. I was like, all right, cool. So on this hit, Josh, focus on your, pushing off your right foot and getting those hips into your swing, and keeping your left arm straight, not breaking your wrist. Turning your hands over when you hit the ball. After you hit the ball, that I forget to keep my eye on the ball, and I actually just completely miss the ball on that swing. Ways that you can help your athletes do this is, so there's three steps to doing, kind of being able to help your athlete with this. First, you want to educate them. When you educate them, there's things you can do, drills, or just teaching them about this stuff, teaching them about skill automaticity, teaching them how you want them to perform and things you want to do. And this is the first step. The second step, you'll have to be able to, the second step is the acquisition phase. This is where you develop the plan. This is where you, after analyzing, where they're at and their athleticism and stuff and their abilities, this is where you want to teach them, or you want to develop that plan. You don't want to, make it redundant and start teaching them things that they already know and drilling in drills that they already know, they already have down. This is where you start developing plans to get them to learn new things. The last is the implementation phase, and this part you just want them to be able to practice it, and that's practice is everything. Practice, practice, practice. Yes, Allen Iverson, we're talking about practice. Practice is key with absolutely everything. And so when you're implementing them, you want to be able to encourage them, and don't be too down on them when they're making the same mistakes over and over again. Let them know and teach them ways they can fix it. Don't say, hey, you keep doing this, change it. Be like, hey, this happened, let's try this time. Let's maybe focus a little more on this. That's pretty much all I have on attention and it being so dire. Yeah, attention is very important, and as you know, the greats didn't happen because they were able to just do everything at once. They had to focus in on certain things that they were doing, and that's how they were trained, and they were able to practice that skill and master it. So that's all I have. I hope you enjoyed the video, one with some actual content, which is nice for a change. Me being able to actually talk about something that's real and legit that can help anybody out in their lives when it comes to driving, riding a motorcycle, your golf shots and tees and stuff. But if you have any more questions about it, anything golf related or basketball related or coaching related, I would love to have any questions whatsoever. So, go ahead if you want, comment, or IM me or whatever, or, DM me, PM me, whatever we're on. And, ask me questions, because I want to help out. Me helping is me learning even more. So, thank you for watching if you watched the entire video. After that, hey, good luck on whatever you do.